Deep within the crystalline spires of the Galactic Archives, Junior Archivist ZIX-427 discovered something they weren't supposed to find. Their 12 sensory appendages trembled as they interfaced with the quantum data core, processing information that hadn't been accessed in over 50 cycles. The holographic warning pulsed in front of them. HFY Security Clearance Omedia required. Documentation of species. Human. Warfare BN Incident. ZIX-427 knew they should stop. Their job was simply to maintain the archive's integrity, not access its contents. But something about this file felt different. Unlike other classified documents that were neatly categorized and cross-referenced, this one existed in isolation, quarantined from the rest of the database. With a subtle neural command, they bypassed the security protocols using maintenance override codes. The archive chamber hummed to life, projecting a three-dimensional recording that filled the vast empty space. The timestamp indicated it was from the era of expansion, nearly 50 cycles ago, when the galaxy was still adapting to faster-than-light travel. The recording showed a massive gathering of the Galactic Council. Representatives from over 10,000 species filled the grand amphitheater, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of evolution. At the center stood something ZIX-427 had only seen in historical documents: a human. The human appeared deceptively simple, bipedal, symmetrical, with only 4 limbs and a single head. They wore what appeared to be ceremonial attire, a crisp blue uniform adorned with metallic symbols. The human's name appeared in the data stream: Admiral Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Force. Honorable Council. Chen's voice resonated through the recording. We understand your concerns about allowing Earth to participate in peacekeeping operations. Yes, our ships lack quantum computers. Yes, we don't have psychic navigators or dimensional weaponry. But we offer something unique: perspective. The council chamber erupted in dismissive murmurs. The Vorkath representative, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of skepticism, spoke. Perspective. Your species still fights wars with kinetic weapons. Your ships require manual pilots. What perspective could you possibly offer to a civilization that has mastered 11 dimensions? Chen smiled, and ZIX-427 noted how the expression triggered warning flags in multiple species threat detection systems. We offer the perspective of a species that evolved on a death world, where every day was a fight for survival, where our technology wasn't handed to us by precursor races, but earned through trial and error, often paid for in blood. The recording shifted, showing tactical data from what would later be known as the Centauri border incident. The Council had assigned human peacekeepers to what they considered a minor dispute, expecting them to simply observe and learn from more advanced civilizations. ZIX-427 watched in fascination as the tactical display showed human ships, primitive by galactic standards, positioning themselves between 2 warring fleets. The Vorkath and Nixilian empires had brought their most advanced weapons, ships that could bend reality, weapons that could alter probability itself. But something was wrong. The data showed anomalies that shouldn't exist. Human ships were appearing in positions that defied tactical logic, moving in patterns that even the most advanced AI couldn't predict. They were using the gravity wells of nearby stars, not as obstacles to be avoided, but as tools to be exploited. Playing recordings of actual battle footage, the archive's emotionless voice announced. The scene changed to show the interior of a human vessel. Unlike the sterile, AI-controlled bridges of advanced species, this one was chaos incarnate. Crew members shouted information across the bridge, making split-second decisions based on instinct rather than computer models. They were using what they called analog backups, physical controls and paper charts, rendering them immune to the quantum disruption weapons of their more advanced adversaries. ZIX-427 felt their neural patterns destabilize as they processed what happened next. The humans didn't just prevent the conflict. They fundamentally changed how both empires understood warfare. They demonstrated that advanced technology could become a vulnerability, that predictability was a weakness, and that sometimes the most primitive solution was the most effective. The recording abruptly shifted to an emergency session of the Galactic Council, held just 3 standard rotations later. The fear in the chamber was palpable, radiating from even the most stoic species. Admiral Chen stood again in the center. But this time there was no dismissiveness from the Council. "We thank humanity for their assistance." The High Counselor's words carried the weight of history. "However, we have unanimously decided that human participation in galactic warfare must be prohibited. Not because you are weak, but because you are too unpredictable, too dangerous. Your species views warfare through a lens we cannot comprehend." Chen's response sent shivers through Zix-427's neural network. "We accept your decision, Counselor. But remember, you're not banning us from warfare because we're primitive. You're banning us because we showed you that everything you know about warfare might be wrong." The recording ended, leaving Zix-427 alone in the darkened archive chamber. They quickly began purging evidence of their unauthorized access, but they couldn't purge the understanding that had fundamentally altered their perspective. Humans weren't banned from warfare because they were technologically inferior. They were banned because they had proven that technology alone didn't determine the outcome of conflicts. As they prepared to end their shift, Zix-427 noticed something that made their primary heart stop. A small notification indicating that their access of the file had been logged. Someone knew they had seen this, and something told them that their life was about to become very interesting indeed. The consequences of accessing classified files came faster than Zix-427 expected. Within hours, they found themselves in a secure chamber deep within the archival complex, facing not security forces as feared, but something far more intriguing. Director Val Scherer herself, the legendary keeper of the galaxy's most dangerous secrets. The director's bioluminescent patterns shifted through shades of deep purple as she studied Zix-427. "You accessed the human warband files," she stated, her translator converting her harmonic speech into standard galactic. "Rather than punish you, I believe it's time someone knew the whole truth. What you saw was only part of the story." Valshera activated a private holographic matrix, one isolated from the main archive network. Before the famous Centauri border incident, there was a catastrophic diplomatic mistake. The Council believed they could control human involvement in galactic affairs. They were wrong. The hologram displayed a diplomatic reception from 50 cycles ago. Humans had just been granted limited access to galactic technology, and the Council had decided to test their capabilities in what they considered a simple peacekeeping operation. High Counselor Admiral Chen appeared in the recording, standing before the galaxy's most powerful beings. "We accept this peacekeeping mission with gratitude. However, I must ask, why choose this particular border dispute?" The High Counselor, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate environmental suit, responded with what Valshera now recognized as fatal arrogance. "The Vorkath and Nixilian dispute is perfect for your species' first involvement. Both sides possess technology far beyond your capabilities, ensuring you can only observe and learn. Your presence will be purely ceremonial." Director Valshera paused the recording. The Council thought they were being clever. They chose a conflict where humans would be hopelessly outmatched technologically, believing this would teach humanity its place in the galactic hierarchy. They didn't understand that they were actually creating the perfect conditions for humans to demonstrate why they were different. The recording resumed, showing the initial deployment of human peacekeeping forces. Their ships looked primitive compared to the quantum-engineered vessels of the Vorkath and Nixilian fleets, while advanced species used AI-driven tactical systems and probability weapons. Human vessels still relied on mechanical backup systems and what they called analog technology. "Watch closely," Valshera instructed. "This is where everything changed." The humans began by doing something unprecedented. They talked to both sides' ground forces, not just their leadership, They learned about cultural grievances that went beyond the official diplomatic records. While advanced species relied on ag-mediated negotiations, humans engaged in direct, personal diplomacy. They discovered something we had missed, Val-Shera explained. The Vorkath and Nixilian conflict wasn't really about border territories. It was about pride, fear, and misunderstanding. Concepts our advanced diplomatic AIs couldn't quantify. The recording showed Admiral Chen's unconventional response. Instead of positioning their ships as a neutral barrier between the fleets, human vessels began conducting what they called freedom of navigation exercises. They deliberately placed themselves in positions that forced both sides to adjust their battle plans. The Council thought humans would be passive observers, Val-Shera continued. Instead, they actively shaped the battlefield before any combat began. They used their perceived weakness as a strength. No one wanted to be responsible for destroying an under-equipped human peacekeeping vessel, so both sides had to constantly adjust their tactics. But the true diplomatic mistake became apparent when the humans introduced another element. They began broadcasting all communications on open channels, making the conflict public to the entire galaxy. Advanced species typically conducted warfare through encrypted quantum channels, hiding their strategies and movements. The humans made everything transparent. They turned it into a performance. Val-Shera's patterns shifted to a deep red. Every aggressive move by either side was now visible to all. The humans hadn't just inserted themselves into the conflict, they had changed its very nature. They transformed a private dispute into a public spectacle where neither side could risk appearing as the aggressor. The recording showed the growing frustration of both the Vorkath and Nixilian commanders. Their advanced battle computers couldn't predict human movements because humans weren't following any established tactical doctrine. They were improvising, using strategies that seemed to defy logic but served a deeper psychological purpose. The Council's diplomatic mistake, Val-Shera concluded, was assuming that technological inferiority meant tactical inferiority. They didn't understand that humans had millennia of experience fighting wars without advanced technology. They had learned to use psychology, deception, and unpredictability as weapons more powerful than any quantum cannon. Zix 427 watched as the recording showed the growing concern among Council members as they realized their error. The humans weren't just surviving in a conflict they should have been helpless in. They were controlling it through means that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations hadn't considered possible. But this was just the beginning. Val-Shera's patterns pulsed with intensity. What happened next would force the entire galaxy to reconsider everything they thought they knew about warfare. The humans were about to demonstrate why being unpredictable was more dangerous than being powerful. The director's patterns dimmed to a somber blue. Would you like to see what happened when the actual fighting began? When humans showed us why thinking differently was more dangerous than any weapon we possessed. Zix 427 realized they were witnessing something few beings in the galaxy had seen. The true story of why humans had to be banned from warfare. It wasn't about their weapons or technology. It was about something far more fundamental, their ability to change the rules of any conflict they entered. Yes, Director, they responded, their neural patterns struggling to process the implications. I need to understand. Val-Shera's response sent chills through their sensor arrays. Then let me show you why the galaxy feared a species that could turn their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. Director Val-Shera's holographic display shifted to a new scene, one that made Zix 427's neural pathways pulse with anxiety. The recording showed the moment when the carefully maintained peace between the Vorkath and Nixilian fleets finally shattered. What you're about to see, Val-Shera warned, is why humans fundamentally changed our understanding of warfare. We thought war was about technology and tactics. They showed us it was about psychology. The recording displayed the human flagship, the EDF Thucydides, positioned between the two hostile fleets. A Nixilian cruiser had just fired what they claimed was an accidental weapons discharge. Instead of retreating or calling for reinforcements, Admiral Chen's response shocked both sides. broadcasting on all frequencies. Chen's voice echoed through the recording. To demonstrate our commitment to peace, we are powering down our shields. Any further weapons discharge will be considered a deliberate act of aggression against an undefended peacekeeping vessel. Valshera paused the recording. Do you understand what they did? They turned their vulnerability into a weapon. No advanced species would ever consider such a tactic. Our warfare was built on layers of defense, each more sophisticated than the last. The humans simply removed theirs. The scene continued. Both the Vorkath and Nexilian commanders were thrown into confusion. Their tactical AIs couldn't compute a response to an enemy deliberately making themselves vulnerable. It went against every principle of advanced warfare. But watch what happened next. Valshera's patterns shifted to a deep crimson. The humans began broadcasting their internal ship communications on open channels. The galaxy heard human crew members talking about their families, sharing stories about their homeworld, discussing their hopes for peace. They humanized themselves to both sides and to the watching galaxy. They weaponized empathy, Valshera explained. Advanced species had long since removed emotional considerations from warfare, relying on AI tactical systems. Humans made it impossible to ignore the emotional cost of conflict. The recording showed the escalating frustration of both fleet commanders. Their sophisticated combat computers were useless against an opponent who refused to follow any known combat doctrine. The humans had changed the nature of the conflict from a military engagement to a psychological one. Then came the moment that truly demonstrated why humans were different. A Vorkath destroyer, its AI detecting a tactical advantage, moved to flank the human position. Instead of evading, the Thucydides launched what appeared to be debris from its cargo holds. They called it chaff, Valshera explained. Simple metal strips. Primitive technology from their early warfare. But watch what it did to the Vorkath's quantum sensors. The advanced scanning systems of the Vorkath ship, designed to detect and analyze complex energy patterns, were overwhelmed by thousands of simple metal reflections. Their sophisticated targeting computers crashed, trying to track every piece of debris as a potential threat. The humans understood something we have forgotten, Valshera continued. Advanced technology can become a weakness if it's too specialized, too dependent on predictable patterns. They used primitive solutions that our advanced systems couldn't adapt to. But the true psychological masterstroke came next. The humans began transmitting detailed technical analyses of both fleets' weaknesses, not to their enemies, but to their own archives, knowing both sides were monitoring their communications. They casually discussed how certain primitive weapons might affect advanced shields, how simple computer viruses might confuse quantum AI systems. They never made threats. Valshera's patterns pulsed with admiration. They just thought out loud, letting both sides' imagination do the work for them. Every advanced species in the galaxy started wondering, what else have these humans figured out? What other primitive solutions might work against our advanced technology? The recording showed the growing panic among the council members as they realized the implications. The humans hadn't just prevented a war. They had demonstrated a form of psychological warfare that no advanced species was prepared to defend against. Both fleets eventually withdrew, Valshera said. Not because of superior firepower or technology, but because the humans had made them question everything they thought they knew about warfare. They created uncertainty, and uncertainty is the one thing advanced tactical systems cannot handle. Zix 427 watched as the council members in the recording argued frantically. The humans hadn't just succeeded in their peacekeeping mission. They had shown that a supposedly primitive species could render advanced military technology ineffective through psychological means alone. But this wasn't even the most disturbing part. Valshera's patterns dimmed to a deep blue. What truly terrified the galaxy came next, when we realized that everything they had done, every seemingly irrational action, every primitive tactic, was part of a carefully calculated strategy. They hadn't just improvised. They had planned to use their perceived weakness as their greatest strength. The director's patterns swirled with concern. Would you like to see the moment when the galaxy realized that humans didn't win despite their limitations? They won because of them. Zix 427 found their neural pathways struggling to process this new understanding of warfare. Yes, Director. I need to see how this ends. Valshera's response was barely more than a whisper. Then let me show you the battle that made the galaxy realize why letting humans participate in warfare was the greatest mistake we could have made. The holographic display in Valshera's secure chamber shifted again, now showing what appeared to be a closed emergency session of the Galactic Council. The timestamp indicated it was mere hours after the failed Vorkath and Nexilian engagement. What you're about to witness, Valshera's patterns pulsed with nervous energy, is the moment when humanity didn't just prevent a war. They fundamentally broke our understanding of it. The recording showed Admiral Chen standing before the council again, but this time the chamber was filled with tension. A Vorkath representative spoke first, their crystalline form clouded with agitation. You claim your actions were defensive, yet you've exposed critical vulnerabilities in our most advanced systems. Chen's response was delivered with unsettling calm. We merely demonstrated that complexity can be a weakness. Every advanced system has a simple countermeasure, if you're willing to think differently enough to find it. The hologram shifted to tactical displays from both fleets. The Vorkath and Nexilian commanders had finally compared their combat data, and what they found had sent shockwaves through the galaxy's military establishments. Look at these patterns. Valshera highlighted various sections of the display. The humans didn't just react to events. They engineered them. Every primitive tactic they employed was designed to create specific psychological responses. The tactical analysis showed how the humans had used their ships' apparent weaknesses to control the battlefield. When they powered down their shields, it wasn't just a moral statement. It forced both advanced fleets to recalibrate their targeting systems, creating gaps in their defense networks. But here's what truly broke us. Valshera's patterns shifted to a deep worried purple. The display showed a human tactical officer's log, declassified during the emergency session. The log revealed that the humans had developed their entire strategy by studying not the advanced species technology, but their psychology. They had identified a critical weakness in how AI-driven warfare worked. It assumed all participants would act rationally according to established military doctrine. They called it weaponized irrationality. Valshera explained. Every seemingly primitive or emotional decision was actually part of a calculated strategy to disrupt AI prediction models. They turned unpredictability into a science. The recording showed the Council's reaction as they realized the full implications. The humans hadn't just found ways to counter advanced technology. They had developed methods to exploit the very assumptions that advanced warfare was built upon. A particularly disturbing section of the tactical log revealed that the humans had carefully studied how different species' AI systems responded to uncertainty. They had deliberately chosen tactics that would create cascading errors in quantum probability calculations. Watch this. Valshera highlighted a moment when a human ship had performed what seemed like a suicidal maneuver. They knew the Nexilian eye would calculate a 99.98% chance of their destruction. But they also knew the AI couldn't account for human willingness to accept those odds. The humans had effectively created a new form of warfare, one that advanced species couldn't adapt to without fundamentally changing how they approached conflict. They had shown that a species could win not by having better technology, but by better understanding how their opponents thought. The breaking point came, Valshera continued, when we realized they had done all this without revealing their true capabilities. Everything we had seen was just what they chose to show us. The recording showed Admiral Chen's final address to the Council. What you've witnessed is only a fraction of human tactical thinking. We demonstrated these capabilities not to threaten, but to make one thing clear. Technological superiority means nothing if you can't understand how your opponent thinks. The Council chamber erupted in chaos as the implications became clear. The humans hadn't just succeeded in their peacekeeping mission. They had shown that they could render the most advanced military technology in the galaxy effectively useless through psychological warfare alone. The vote to ban humans from warfare came shortly after. Val'Sharah's patterns dimmed, not because we feared their weapons, but because we feared their minds. They had shown us that our entire understanding of warfare was built on assumptions they could exploit. Zix-427 watched as the recording showed the final moments of the emergency session. The fear in the chamber wasn't of human technology or military might. It was the realization that they had encountered a species that could turn any situation to their advantage by thinking in ways no AI could predict. "There's one more thing you need to see," Val'Sharah said quietly. "The real reason this information was classified. Would you like to know what happened after the ban was implemented?" Zix-427's neural patterns surged with anticipation. "Yes, Director. Show me." Val'Sharah's response was chilling. "Then let me show you why the galaxy didn't just ban humans from warfare. They made sure humans never knew the real reason why." The secure chamber's lighting dimmed as Director Val'Sharah prepared to show the final recording. Her bioluminescent patterns had shifted to a color Zix-427 had never seen before. A deep, resonant black shot through with pulses of silver. "What I'm about to show you," she said, "has been viewed by only 12 beings in the entire galaxy. After this, you'll understand why even the humans don't know the true reason for their ban from warfare." The holographic display activated one final time, showing a hidden chamber deep within the Galactic Council's secure archives. 7 beings, the Council's most senior members, sat in a circle, their forms obscured by privacy fields. "The public records show we banned humans because they were unpredictable," Val'Sharah explained. "The classified records suggest we feared their psychological warfare capabilities. But the truth is far more terrifying." The recording showed Admiral Chen's final private meeting with the Council's inner circle. But unlike her public appearances, here she wasn't wearing her formal uniform. Instead, she wore simple civilian clothes and bore an expression that made even Zix-427's artificial neural pathways flare with primitive fear. "You've achieved your objective, Admiral," one of the council members spoke, their voice distorted. "We'll ban humanity from warfare, but we both know why you really orchestrated all of this." Chen's smile was different now, not diplomatic, not professional, but deeply satisfied. "You finally understood then that everything, from our primitive technology to our psychological tactics, was simply a demonstration." The recording shifted, showing detailed analysis of human historical records that the Council had secretly obtained. Wars spanning thousands of years, countless strategies, endless adaptations. But more importantly, it showed something that had been hidden in plain sight. The humans, Val'Sharah explained, had deliberately maintained the appearance of technological inferiority. They could have advanced faster, developed more sophisticated weapons, but they chose not to. Can you guess why? Zix-427's neural networks struggled to process the implication. They wanted to be underestimated. More than that, Val'Sharah's patterns swirled intensely. They wanted to ensure that if they ever encountered advanced civilizations, they would have an advantage no one could prepare for: the ability to wage war in ways that advanced technology couldn't counter. The recording showed Chen's final revelation to the inner circle. Every primitive solution we demonstrated, every psychological tactic we employed, they weren't desperate measures. They were carefully preserved strategies, maintained throughout our history precisely because they bypass advanced defenses. The council members' reaction was unanimous horror as they realized the truth. Humanity hadn't just developed effective countermeasures to advanced warfare. They had spent their entire history developing ways to fight that deliberately avoided technological dependencies. "We didn't ban humans because they were dangerous," Val'Sharah said quietly. "We banned them because they showed us that our entire approach to warfare was fundamentally flawed. They proved that no matter how advanced our technology became, they had already developed ways to counter it, centuries or even millennia ago." The final segment of the recording showed the Council's ultimate decision. The humans would be banned from warfare, but they would never be told the real reason. Let them believe it was about their unpredictability, their primitive methods, their psychological warfare. The truth had to be hidden, Valshera continued, because it revealed something no advanced civilization wanted to admit, that perhaps our path of technological advancement had actually made us more vulnerable, not less. The recording ended with Chen's parting words to the inner circle. "You're not banning us to protect the galaxy from humanity. You're banning us to protect the galaxy from realizing that all their advancement might be their greatest weakness." Zix 427 watched as the final hologram faded, their neural patterns struggling to process the implications. The humans hadn't just demonstrated superior strategy. They had revealed that the entire galactic understanding of warfare and advancement might be built on a fundamental misconception. "So now you know." Valshera's patterns settled into a steady, deep blue. The humans aren't banned because they're dangerous. They're banned because they proved that sometimes the oldest solutions are the most effective. That all our advancement might have led us down a path that actually made us more vulnerable, not less. "But Director," Zix 427 ventured, "why show me this?" Valshera's response sent shivers through their neural network. "Because the humans are watching us, Archivist. Not with advanced technology, but with those simple, profound methods they've perfected over millennia. And someday, when the galaxy needs them, they'll be ready to show us that true advancement isn't about technology at all. It's about understanding the fundamental nature of conflict itself." As they left the secure chamber, Zix 427 realized they now carried a truth that would forever change how they viewed the galaxy. The humans weren't banned because they were too primitive or too unpredictable. They were banned because they had discovered something far more powerful than advanced technology. They had discovered that the path to true superiority might lie not in advancing forward, but in remembering what they had learned in their past. The humans had shown the galaxy its greatest fear, that perhaps in their race to advance, they had forgotten the most important lessons of all.